Maybe it's because I'm getting. No, that's Netflix straight through the TV. I wonder if it'd be any different if I tried it through like the PS3.
Yeah,
What do I
I
have?
don't know. Well, just even on PC.
Yeah. Just do that.
Just buy something like that.
Yeah, it was like really freaked out. Like mine at my house has never done that. And so I'm sitting out there the other night and I'm like, well, Hulu's boring. I'm gonna put on Netflix. So I started watching some fucking Netflix. And I was just sitting there like normal. Okay. And
Just sitting there like normal.
yeah. And so I it's never done that for me before.
Probably that's what mine thought.
And all of a sudden it just started doing that and voices come on and I'm like, what's going on?
Dude,
I hate it.
I tasked you with this one.
I hate it very much. It does that. I'm just trying to look through. I'm not trying to watch the trailer. If I want to watch the trailer, I click watch the trailer. When am I doing this?
The reason I say that is the TV
Well,
in our living room
off the balance.
is one of the original smart TVs from Samsung,
Uh-huh.
which are
Expression
Netflix pretty
Oh, that's what I have.
That's what I figured you
And
know.
using that, it's pretty old school versus using the Xfinity box itself.
See, I'm using an old school smart TV.
Yes, that's what I have. But I don't use that ever. I use the actual.
And it's coming in straight through the TV.
It's going to the TV app. See if that app's available on your Xfinity or your Atlantic Broadband.
I should.
Yes.
I should try. Yeah, I'll try it also. I mean, as Mikey said, maybe it will just get
It could. But it'll also be faster. I know using the TV app is slower than using the Xfinity box app.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Penguins, you want to talk about?
Hey, someone already said something to us. Texas Owl.
No, it's Kevin, but I missed a day somewhere.
No. Who wants to talk about circumcision?
Texas Owl, man.
Oh, are we live? Are we streaming?
Can Kevin hear us?
Can you hear?
Kevin, will you let us know if you can hear us? Go to the light, Caroline.
Caroline.
Wasn't that weird to get that shit earlier that came over on the instant text?
Yeah, I didn't know that was possible.
I believe it. I was spam.
Jesus.
What color would you call this? Amber?
Amber gold.
I'll make it forward, Kevin. We're not live, are we?
Yeah, we are.
Hey, I know. Wait a minute. That's right.
Is it good enough?
I think we should.
I think you actually have to shoot it.
How much, what's this called?
67.
66, 65.99. So says the PA fine one has great spirits.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's something that someone explained to me.
Yeah.
After I spit down.
You gonna keep going? What,
Yeah,
should I get
well,
dollars
yeah,
out or what?
Check this out.
That's pretty awesome.
Nice.
I mean, if you're gonna keep going, I'm gonna get dollar bills out.
Okay, that's better than Jay. He's got a quarter. Bam. Cheap. $20 a quarter is $20 a quarter.
That's right. There's a little jingle in your wallet.
So I was looking at the Fine Wine and Good Spirits website,
Yeah.
and I went to the clearance, and it's just like, wow, they got a lot of stuff that I'd like to purchase on clearance.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to the store, the prices aren't matching.
Oh.
But it says
maybe you have to
online.
go. Maybe
But it says both in store,
It
available
does say.
in store and online.
Well, then no problem. Just charge you.
But they didn't. I bought
Oh, you did?
Did you say anything to them?
I didn't know that because I was looking for some of the scotches, but when I went back to the entire list, I found my Italian wine, my go-to Italian wine, Borghese wine. That was on sale. It was $6 off. It's like, no, they charged me the regular price. They didn't charge me this number.
Oh, yeah, I would have said something.
Oh,
But I'm like borderline Jewish. And borderline Gentile.
you are a gent.
Do you like my socks?
Why do you? I do. Why do you keep bringing it back to circumcision?
I have to. I got it sponsored.
Did you?
Local rabbi.
Yeah.
Hey, which one is on?
Are you sure? Did we turn it off last week?
Yes.
It's getting better.
Yeah, something's going on.
Careful with your new doorknob there, James.
I know. It's tricky. Did you see that the state liquor control board is selling $800?
No, I didn't.
Wow.
They're selling $800 for how much?
The name of this
$7.99.
selling $800 bourbon and special water.
Yes, I signed up for the last one. The newest one now has the Wellers on it.
Right.
They're only $29.
The name of this website is TripWire. And almost like stinks like a gun for pesos.
Yeah, that's Tripco Media. That's where
It's not tripping.
it's not tripping you. No, it's
Yes.
optimization.
There's Scissor Sisters going on.
I did sign up. There's 2 Wellers on there that I signed up for.
Okay.
One was 27, one was 35, I think 37. But yeah, the rest of them were going pretty pricey.
Michter's is going for $8.
Yeah.
Brussels Reserve's going for $2.50. Four Roses 130th anniversary. Did we like Four Roses? I didn't like it nearly as much as Jay did.
Oh yeah, that's from J Love.
And Ryan, kinda.
Brian loves it.
Ryan loves it.
Yeah.
We love Ryan.
We did.
Is it a completely new door or did you just like install it?
No, it's new.
And you still went with, and you still went with the glass?
One of those? Where did you find one of those?
They have the Lowe's.
No way.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that'd be one.
Yes, sir. Hey Jay,
Yes, but
in the new whiskey lottery, Four Roses 130th anniversary limited edition Batch Bourbon 2018 barrel strength is going for $140.
Why do I care?
Didn't you really like that?
I really like that.
Oh, okay. You signed up for the Wellers.
Yes.
I'll do. Keep the damn list. Since I got rid of the keypad lock for my front door, I was looking at key lengths because I have real keys now, like a Savage,
Right.
and they have a revolver key. It's pretty cool.
It's hot.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, the Wellers is going for $30. Then they have the Weller Crafter
Yeah.
Bourbon for $40.
No, when I signed up it was 27. I don't know. I don't. But yes, those are the two that I signed up for. Of course, after the lottery's over, they'll probably just start out like putting Wellers on the shelves.
Probably.
At a special clearance price that you can't actually buy.
Check out.
Nectar,
I don't
hard
have
to do, or
I don't have any of those.
you guys want to do my check?
Chirp.
Should we mention that there's a new lottery going on?
Check it out, boys.
This is a microphone test. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Check. 1, 2, 3.
Microphone check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Microphone check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
I kind of
This is a microphone test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check. 1, 2, 3. Microphone check. 1, 2, 3. Microphone check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
I was really like good.
Yeah, you were up in seconds.
I was up on sides.
It was fun.
And that's why they call it penis, because penis schools are
He and us.
All right, we're gonna go check again.
A male named it.
This is a microphone test. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Microphone check. 1, 2, 3.
Microphone check. 2112.
Microphone check. Limelight.
is a microphone test. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Microphone check. 1, 2,
Now you're
3.
probably gonna have to slide.
Microphone check. 1, 1, 2. Microphone check.
That sounds better.
You sure I shouldn't get those dollars out?
Got a roll for you. You just have to see.
I do. Sleeve of dimes. One
Wow.
sleeve of dimes.
Is that what we're calling it these days?
No, I'm talking about my
That's what
penis.
kids know.
Sorry, this is the penis sort of
Womp womp. It
Diamonds.
has the diamonds.
dime.
Diamonds. The menace.
Hey, which one?
Dennis the
Doesn't
menace.
matter.
Well, you got
Diamond
one.
is mine.
Diamonds the menace.
Got that there too. Yeah.
Ooh, you got water. You gotta pour a lot of water in it though. Because if you pour a little bit, it's hard to get dry. That's bad.
We're gonna use the glass.
I am. I have extra ones.
Oh, here, you can use mine.
No, I get this one. I'm gonna, hang on, I'm gonna go and create that.
I'm telling you.
I got some of that glue putty in here. Let's see if it'll stick.
Well, you gotta shoot it into it, right?
I think you have to actually shoot it.
Yeah.
Well, ours.
Hold on.
All right, here, hold it.
I think
Put
you
it
have
on my
to.
head.
I think you have to get the glass to your molten temperature,
I'm near full.
and then you're
Sure.
always near molten temperature, and then you have to get a really underpowered like squid rod,
Or I thought you should have had it really far away.
like 3 miles away, and then Jay stands up there and goes like this.
He runs and catches it. Like, Rocky and
Wind
Bullwinkle,
drift,
whatever he's doing.
wind drift.
Yeah, right.
The Bullwinkle's trying to catch Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready to carry on when you guys are.
My wayward son. Good.
And we're going live in 3, 2. Okay, we were live and then I screwed everything up. Let's try this again. Going live and three, two.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jay from the Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee, here with another episode. This week, before we get started, like always, let's present the committee. Like I said, my name is Jay. With us this evening is co-host and co-founder, the magnificent bearded one, the Red Warlock, the master of many modes, the modal master, the professor, John J. Feathers. To my immediate left, the sexiest man alive, Captain Tight Pants himself, Mr. Amazing, Mr. Awesome, whatever that shirt said that one time, Mr. Universe, co-host and co-founder, Michael J. Cavino.
Good evening, everybody.
And also across the table from me is the fourth member of the Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee. Keep calm, let Al handle it. That's what he does. So saith the shirt. He's into vitamins. A little bit of Al goes a long way. The Reverend.
Salutations, all.
And what a humdinger of a show we've got for you.
And by the way, who are you?
I am Empanada Jones. So saith my Twitter. Let's present arms. This week, as always, I am presenting the Thesis BR9 Regent. And as you can see, it is clear.
It is clear.
It is clear.
It is clear.
And just for the record, it's still filthy.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I actually just watched a piece of lip fall out.
Oh, really? Wow.
Carry guns.
As usual, the everyday go-to is the Springfield XDS Chamber 45 ACP, and as you can see, it was,
Isn't that actually
it's
again?
shiny. Did you see that?
Don't let go.
Oh, okay. Did you see that slide?
Next time, let it go.
Yeah, we're gonna present ours because I think I fucked up.
I appreciate that. I'm presenting the Dan Weston 44, and as you guys can see, I just spent all the key
Best spin
in the business.
In the business. I mean, of all the whiskey podcasts that present all
That
this,
is for
that is the best spin.
It might even be the only spin,
But it-
which is the only one that
It
matters.
is. And I myself am presenting the often imitated
was groovy.
Yeah. Do you want to take
Yeah.
care of some business?
Yeah, I
Take
think
care of some business?
we'll do that. Hey, can I see that for a second, buddy? May I see
Are you seriously looking at my fucking gun?
You have some business that you should be talking about right
Fine.
now.
Whatever. Hey, at least I'm gonna do it. Let's move on to the.
God, what? Oh, don't let them see that on camera.
Shush.
There-
Let's move on to the media in the minutes. Just want to do a quick. I don't have a whole lot to talk about, but let's do a quick recap of last week. We had an amazing time for our 1 year anniversary.
it? It was
And
fantastic.
basically, just once more, I would like to thank Alex Hazard. Here, go. I hope I don't screw up her name.
You will.
She won't listen.
Cozier?
Yeah, Morgan Koziar.
You said you
I
tried to
said
get
Kozier.
you tried to get
last week.
fancy and said like Cozier or something.
No, I think that's what it is.
Oh.
Kozier. I said Kozier.
All right.
We had the Punisher Dane Lamont and Whisketeer and Patreon member Ryan Weaver. Guys, again, thank you for coming out and helping us with that episode. We had one hell of a time. It was a really cool show.
We
Here's
can't.
to
We honestly can't say enough. Like
one
Thank
more
you so
year.
much.
Everyone was so great.
that was absolutely.
Giving
I
us
was
their time.
their time, and I was seriously like. I mean,
And so you know, we did last night. We had a little impromptu get together after work. It wasn't even like Jason stopped by before he went up to the valley. It happened to be closing time, and I'm like, well, you want some whiskey? Michael came down, so we had some Jeffersons with Michael. Again, thank him for letting us use
Yes.
the basement.
that's a very good thing to bring up.
So
I was like literally like humbled and struck by those good folk coming out to share our anniversary with us.
and the weather sucked. I mean, it was
Yeah,
bad.
it was
Yeah,
bad.
there
They
was-
came out.
There was a few people who didn't show, who again we'd like to thank anyway, just because they were part of that year. Alan Pickrell, Ryan Fresh, John Falls, and Brad Lego. And
Rick Wirtz.
Rick was in the middle of a different kind of meeting, but we will forgive him. The rest of you guys, nah, we love you anyway. So that's basically it. Thanks again for sharing the year with us. We had one amazing ride, and we plan on continuing.
Chance says it's static and really quiet. I don't know if anyone else is echoing that sound.
I don't know.
What is?
So that's the camera. So it's the.
It looks like the mic pickup very low.
For all those at home, I just learned something. You always start from the breech side, not the crown side, because you don't want to scratch the crown of
I guess see if that's any better.
crown.
Shannon, text me. Let me know.
Because at this point we'd have to start over. Anywho. The science experiment part 2 will be happening within the next week or so. We are going to have to empty and filter the whiskeys. There you go.
All right. Cool.
We good now?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I bumped it.
I'm pretty super excited about that as well.
Yeah, I'm really pumped. So we, like I said, we will have to filter out the whiskey to clean it a little bit, but then we will have it on the show promptly to do part 2 of the science experiment, which I think we've explained enough times. If you don't know what's going on, go back and listen to a few episodes. For our local listeners, this is the last point that I have here. My daughter is part of a
Excuse
group.
me. Our daughter, collectively.
Yeah,
My granddaughter.
Our daughter.
our daughter,
Thank you.
who art in bed. Better be thy crown, whatever. She is in
Or thy kingdom will
a group called the Frontier Girls, and she belongs to Troop 213. And on February 2nd, they are holding a annual fundraiser that they do called Beat the Winter Blues.
That's Groundhog Day.
Sure is. And basically what it is
I got you. Babe.
for a $10 admission ticket, it gets you obviously in the door. It gets you a spaghetti dinner. There's musical entertainment, which is going to be provided by myself.
How'd you get that gig?
Yeah, I know some people. the old time rock and roll outfit, the Rattlers, and the country rock band 53 South. But aside from all that amazing tastiness, why I'm bringing it up is because if you go and you buy raffle tickets for the silent basket auction, you will see that there is a basket donated by and from the Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee.
Yeah, that's us.
Hey,
Ooh, wait, who are
special.
those guys?
yeah, I
They
don't know.
sound handsome.
They are handsome. There's 6 little whiskey bottles in there for you to get your little mitts on. There's some Jameson. There's a Macallan 12.
Yeah, I came with a 2.
There is, I think, the Glenlivet 12. There's some Maker's Mark. There's some Jack Daniels.
Yeah, but
There's
it's
some
not just
Jack
regular
Daniels.
No, it's actually
I
it's
used that one
gentleman,
time, wasn't it?
gentleman
Yeah.
Jack.
Yeah.
And
which
there's
is palatable.
It's better than what
and
he
there's
hasn't been using.
there's one other one in there. It's a Crown Royal, I think.
It's an apple, isn't it? Isn't there an apple one? I couldn't tell
No,
by
I
the
think it
label.
was
It just had a green
just a
label.
normal one.
It's
So
not.
there's 6 different flavors in there for you to try and sample and hopefully get up ons, and you'll have a special handwritten note from the Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee inside of that guy that says, thanks for winning, and hopefully you'll tune into our show and check us out. So all the other coolness aside, the music acts, the dinner, why don't you go donate and try to get that Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee basket. And if you are a local listener who goes and gets and wins that basket, we'll have you on the show. Other than that, guys, did you know that we have social medias?
I heard
Say
about
what?
that once.
There's a thing. It's actually called Facebook.
What?
We have one of those. I don't know if you've heard of this.
No.
It's on an interweb thing, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah.
it's not on the dark web. It's on the light web.
No, shh.
The light web.
Don't mention
It's
the
on
dark
the light
web. We're on
web.
AT&T employees. Oh.
Yeah.
So we have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram. We have a Twitter. We have a Reddit page. We got email, which is
He didn't even
WednesdayNightWhiskey@gmail.com.
touch that.
If you are looking at yourself in the mirror right now and considering, like, damn, I need a new
I
look,
did actually.
Oh, really?
why don't
It's
you
that
head
bad?
over to
It was-
redbubble.com
It was that bad.
and pick up some fresh ass swag. That's just all that there is to it.
I love that swag,
It is. It's right across.
especially
the
when it's fresh.
It's we got a new line of sweatpants that just says fresh ass on the back, and down the front of the leg it says swag.
That's great.
That's not true, but that would be amazing.
We can make it so.
We probably
We
could.
shouldn't.
Make
though.
No,
it
we
so
shouldn't,
now.
but yeah, we could. I'd buy it.
Make it so, number one.
So you can go to Redbubble/people/Wed Night Whiskey and find yourself at our little store there, and you can pick up anything that your little heart desires, from clocks to shirts to drawstring bags, whatever you want. We got
Do we
it.
have cuckoo clocks?
No, they don't.
I would love to have a Wednesday.
They got
whiskey
coffee mugs.
coffee mugs.
Did they put poker face?
Oh,
Oh.
pokey face. And so on top of that, after you've got yourself some swag, which goes to help us out in the long run, you can head over to our Patreon site, which, if you're unfamiliar with Patreon, basically what it is, it's a donation page that you give us a donation. It is a reoccurring donation, and you basically pay us per episode for whatever you know would be great. Mario Ciccarella, who is a Patreon member, brought this up. He said, "Hey, if everyone who listened to the show gave $1 a show,
That guy's definitely put his money where his mouth is.
yeah,
Sure has.
more than enough times has he gone forth and really provided us with some I don't even know what to call it. Some cheer, some support, lots of support. We'll go with lots of support.
Tools of our industry. How about that?
Absolutely.
That's right. That's right.
It goes a long way. Like I said, end of February, we have our dues are up.
Scrub the road.
We got to buy into another year of contract services through SoundCloud, which, hey, it ain't cheap. And every little bit that you help us out with goes a very long way. So look forward to that. We also have a coffee site, which I don't know why. That's ko-fi.com. If you're not into the reoccurring thing, you can get us a cup of coffee. That's the equivalent of about $4. Again, we will use that to good use. Also, If you just want to cut out the middleman and hit us up on our PayPal account, please, you can do that.
We like that.
Send me a message first.
That's recently been done.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
we will give you the information on how to do that, and everything will be cool. So on that note, I think I have to call Jason away from his whirlpooling activities at the moment.
What
And-
kind of activity?
Whirlpooling.
Whirlpooling.
Why not?
What's the adjective mean?
I have no idea. I'd shoot you, but my gun is now disassembled.
We got extras.
Let us now present the whiskey for the evening, which kind of excited about.
Me too, as a matter of fact.
And I'm kind of excited about it because I'm pretty sure I'm going to hate it.
Really? Where'd mine go?
Really?
Is it on the floor?
Oh, thanks, Mike. A good drink of your water.
I want to love it. I do. But I'm
We'll find out.
Open-minded.
We'll find out
I'm
whether you like it or not.
Sort of like a clean firearm.
All right.
Come on, be open-minded about it.
It's like, it's like a grill. I don't want a clean grill. I want to have the flavor in there.
Yeah.
Here.
There's plenty of flavor
There was.
to go around.
Jason, take us away.
So this evening's whiskey that we will be sampling is the Talisker single malt Scotch whiskey, and I am super excited because this guy makes my top. It makes my top three.
Top three.
Top
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, this guy
boy.
makes my top three.
We actually wrote
Wow.
out that top 3 today, and I said, "Here, let me write that down for you."
Let me tell you what it is. This is the 10-year.
What was yours? Keep going. I just want to see Jay's.
You just want me to talk over you? Or
Yeah, talk over me.
Okay.
I'm having a conversation with Jay.
Okay.
So just talk to the
I'll listen
microphone.
to it.
I'll talk to Jay. So Jay, how was your day today?
Good, bud.
Good.
A good time.
Okay. So this guy's coming in at a little over 91 proof. So it's got a little bit of a kick to it, but this whiskey it's not only one of my favorite flavors, it's sentimental. We every time that one of our children was born, we actually Altoona Hospital Beware, we snuck a bottle of Talisker into the hospital to commemorate the birth of our children, and we actually have what's left of that commemoration at home on our shelf, marked and labeled for each child. We plan on, I don't know, opening it up when they get married or something. Who knows? But,
Sure.
That's
yeah. So it's a we'll see what Jay thinks. I'm pretty. You've had Talisker.
I've never had it. No.
I'm fairly certain that you will like it a
You've
lot.
never had
This is
Talisker?
one of my most anticipated scotches.
I am making a prediction that I'm fairly certain you will like it a lot.
I guarantee I will.
Jay is still up in the air.
He's actually becoming defensive about it, I think.
I'm not defensive.
Jeez, Jay.
Jay's not
Whoa.
gonna get it.
Jeez, buddy.
Good thing we have your firearm
Yeah,
in
and-
I don't
pieces.
understand where the aggression's coming
I
from.
know.
I know, dude. What the hell?
Do the news. The news.
The news. Do the news. And tonight,
Tiffany,
on the
over
Wednesday
to you.
Night Whiskey Committee.
And that's the way the news goes.
All right. The Talisker Distillery was founded in 1830 by Hugh and Kenneth McCaskill and further finished built in 1831 at Carbost after a number of false starts on other sites when they acquired the lease of Talisker House from the chieftain MacLeod of Clan MacLeod. No Highlander references. The distillery was rebuilt between 1880 and 87 and extended again in 1900. When a new lease for the distillery was negotiated with the chief of Clan MacLeod in 1892, the annual payment was to be a whopping 23 pounds, 12 shillings.
Wow.
That's real nice.
Yeah, in
That's
1892. And the most important part, a 10-gallon cask of the best quality Talisker. That's a good deal for chief of Clan MacLeod. It was rebuilt in 1960 after a stillhouse fire completely destroyed the distillery.
How many casks were they given?
A 10-gallon cask.
Just one.
There can only be one.
There can only
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh God.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's fine. That's good. The distillery operates 5 stills, 2 wash stills, and 3 spirit stills. All of the stills use worm tubs, which are actually just another name for condensing coils, rather than a modern condenser, which are believed to give the whiskey a fuller flavor. During this period, the whiskey was produced using the traditional triple distillation method. They did change to the more conventional double in 1928. Talisker was acquired by Distillers Company in 1925 and is now a part of Diageo. It is included.
Cologne.
Yes, it is included in their classic malts collection. After the fire of 1965, exact replicas of the original stills were constructed to preserve the original Talisker flavor. In 1972, awesome year. I was born that year. The stills were converted to steam heating and the malting floor was demolished. That's kind of the boo. Talisker's water comes from springs directly above the distillery via a network of pipes and wells. The malted barley used in production comes from the Muir of Ord, and Talisker does have an unusual feature. It has swan neck lye pipes, which they're like a loop in the pipes that take the vapor from the stills to the worm tub. So some of the alcohol is already condensed before it reaches the cooler. I know that this is like technical crap that a lot of people don't care about, but it is something that it is distilled in a pretty unique way.
I want to know about it.
It then runs back into the stills and is distilled again. Talisker now has an annual output of 3.5 million liters of spirit. That's a lot of spirit. Talisker is most frequently matured in American oak casks. And here's specific information for Jay. The malt is peated to a phenol level of approximately 18 to 22 parts per million, which is actually only a medium peating level. It's like not nearly what like before you're like a bull in it. But the water that is used for production from Knocknan Spirig, aka Hawk Hill, flows over peat, which does add an additional peaty complexity to the whiskey. The distillery began producing special bottlings of the whiskey for connoisseurs in the early 2000s with 20 and 25-year bottlings, where previously only 10 and 18 years were available. The 25-year bottling, despite being more expensive than the 20-year bottling, was distributed more widely, and I can say I've definitely seen more 25s than 20s out there. In 2007, Talisker 18 won single best malt in the world, 2007 at the World Whiskey Awards. In 2015, Talisker 10-year won a double gold medal and best single malt scotch up to 12 years in the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. I would also like to add that in the Game of Thrones Classic Malts Edition, Talisker represents House Greyjoy, who rule over the Iron Islands, a harsh and bleak collection of forbidding islands off the west coast of Westeros. They rule from the Seastone Chair and Castle Pike on the island of the same name, and this is indeed a This is indeed a fitting representation for the distillery located on the Isle of Skye that's so close to the sea. Mike would like this part. Talisker was this is a little bit of our pop culture reference, which
Fake, definitely right up Mikey's alley.
Fact. Mike missed the.
When he comes back in, I'll have to make a big deal of it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it was so good.
It was we'll still all be laughing or something. Hey, bud.
Change my sock.
Oh, you did. I get that. Well, since we're just going with pop culture references all over the place, Talisker was the favorite whiskey of writers Robert Louis Stevenson and H.V. Morton. In his poem, The Scotsman's Return from Abroad, Stevenson mentioned, "The king of drinks, as I conceive it, Talisker, Islay, or Glenlivet." So being mentioned in the holy trinity of the drinks there by Robert Louis Stevenson. And pulling from Talisker's own website, through fire, war, and financial crises, this northern outpost by the sea, Skye's oldest distillery, has remained strong, producing consistently fine whiskeys, which once tried are rarely forgotten. So, having said all that, let's try.
Let the pouring begin.
Let the pouring commence. Mike's got a good spin, great pour.
Great pour.
I'm glad he's back. I had a terrible time trying to pour.
We are also this evening using, where's the camera? Oh yeah. We are using the glasses provided by my lovely mother-in-law, Donna Oswald.
Donna, thank you.
Thank you very much. The Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee glasses with a 308 bullet lodged in the side. That's a great golden glug, isn't it?
That's a great glug. I don't know. Maybe I'll have as heavy as a hand this time.
Do it. Just do it, Mike. Have a heavy hand. You know why? Because you're going to want one.
Oh, don't worry. haven't got
You
to my
get
glass
Jay a
yet.
good Jay, the guy who's gonna love this shit. You get Jay a great one.
Not very smoky.
I'm getting the peat out right away.
Yeah, the peat's there.
Peat.
It's
Not a lot of smoke.
Not a lot.
No,
of
not a lot of
but
smoke.
very little smoke. I think.
Little smoke. I'm getting a little C. They make a big deal of it being
Yeah.
made by the sea. I'm getting a little bit of seaside.
Not an overpowering nose. Not the nose I expected.
Not weak either, but
No.
not. It's citrusy. So before we actually drink, let me tell you something that I really like about Talisker, and maybe I should say this after we drink. I don't know. Just in reference to the nose already, one of the things I really like about this particular Scotch is, to me, it's just one of the most well balanced in all the characteristics, and that's including peat. But it just seems to have a really good balance, and I'm even getting that from the nose before I even put it to my lips. There's just a really good balance of everything in there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're getting a little sweetness, a little smokiness.
Right.
Just
right.
yeah, it balances itself. All right, I gotta put it in my mouth.
Now put it in your mouth.
Going back again.
That is different.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, is that complex?
Yes, it's super complex. There's like 3 finishes.
There really is.
Wow.
Because my first initial finish is, wow, this is sweeter than I anticipated.
And then,
all of a sudden the smoke kicks in, and I'm like, oh God, I can't breathe.
right,
I have a mouth and nose full, smoke.
right.
And then that goes away, and then it's just sitting there.
And there's a little bit of like citrusy that comes back at the end too.
The
Like
very end, I think, is oil.
and
Peat and oil. But
Yeah.
in the middle. But you're right. There isn't just a finish. It's
several
a book
finishes.
Right.
worth of finishing.
peppery at the very end. A little peppery going on.
Yeah, I'd probably say the second finish ends the sweet and begins the citrus,
Mm-hmm.
and then goes towards the pepper on the end.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I like it more if I don't try to taste it, if that makes sense.
Just drink it.
Like, not like doing like the slow
Yeah.
kind of rolling
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
but just, and not like
I think
shot style either. Not
No.
just pounding it down to get it out of the way, but like
Right.
just taking a quick sip and putting it back down. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I like it more than I've liked Lefroy.
I can see that. It's way
Um,
mellower and more balanced.
yeah,
Has a lot more character.
it does.
I can see
I'll
why.
even say it has a lot more character than even Lagavulin. Lagavulin just has that,
That perfect
Hello.
suede.
that-
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
where this has, hi,
Oh, this is.
I'm the beginning of the night.
Mm-hmm.
We're halfway through
Your conversation.
So, yeah. And now it's like, time to put your head down, Jay.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah.
I like.
And it might be like an after nightcap sort of first date kiss, because right at the end is when you get that oil on your lips, like the sensation.
I like that. I like that idea. It's a
I'm telling
first
yeah,
date
it's
kiss.
that's sort of how it
Yeah.
you get a whole sequence of a whole night out of one drink.
It's also great first thing in the morning.
It goes well.
Yeah.
Most Kellogg's or Post, is it a Post or Kellogg's?
I would
sort
go.
of, or either.
I'd probably go Kellogg's though.
So this would make me
Maybe
want, like,
General
if this was legit, like, served at breakfast, I'd be like, all right, where's the cow?
But I could
I'm
actually
just gonna go out and bite the cow.
No, this is bacon. I think this is a pork product.
Really?
You go
Yeah.
pork?
I'm
Yeah,
getting-
I'd go pork.
I'm
You'd
beefy
go
on
beef?
it. I'm beefy on it.
Okay, well, we agree to
Yeah,
disagree.
I'd want to.
It's definitely breakfast.
I'd want to. And I
Wow.
like rare steak.
Although I'm
Yeah.
getting a little peppery sausage in there too.
Yeah.
Pepperidge Farm, remember us. Yeah. Uh-oh.
It's okay. Keep going.
Yeah. So I mean, your I figured you would like it a lot.
I do like this a lot. I
figured Mikey would like it a lot. He could surprise us all. He could come back here and be like, "This is the worst swill I've ever tasted." I don't know. What I like about you, Jay Smith, is you're a man of mystery.
Why?
Well, I mean,
Why do you say such things?
I mean, a couple
He's
times.
not being hurtful.
No.
No.
I prefaced it with what I like about you. Is,
Nothing. Oh.
No, like
What I like about you.
there've been more. There's been more than one occasion where I thought, I'm not going to say I've ever truly been arrogant enough to think I had you pegged, because I just know better than that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've certainly had some presuppositions, and
Wasn't that a Rush song? Supposition.
Yeah, I think it might be.
right. And that's what I'm listening to tonight. And but I'm really intrigued at this because it is an island malt.
Mhm.
Now, some people don't count the islands as a separate category. For me, this stuff is distinguishing enough that it's, I'd like to put this in its own category. But to my mind, it's an island malt. You've surprised me on a couple of occasions with either you've really liked it more than I thought you would, or you haven't liked it, or I'm just very interested.
This is a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
For me.
Oh, well, okay.
Mike's gonna open his up a little bit.
I am.
Is Jim short?
Well,
Well,
I'm curious because it's so, as everybody said, it's so well balanced right now.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it.
Will
as is.
that
I
help
don't want to
or
color.
not?
All eyes are on Mikey.
Yes.
And that's before he took the drink.
Right.
Aw. I think I like it more. Now, not to say I didn't like it before,
Mm-hmm.
but the complexity and the balance that you guys are talking about is probably what I liked the least about it.
Okay.
Because, like I think Jay hit the nail on the head. It's not Lagavulin,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh.
and I like Lagavulin for what it does,
Mm-hmm.
and I want that. If I
Mm.
want complexity and I want balance and I want all that, I'm gonna go with a Highland. That's not why.
Which
I go
some
with-
people would count this as.
they may, yeah,
Because
exactly.
we were just saying the islands are not counted by some people.
Right.
A lot of people would tell you this is a Highland malt.
So I would want
Wow,
this.
the water really does change it.
Yeah,
Damn it! Now I'm gonna.
So
have
does it
to.
take the whole? Theater?
It takes away.
I don't have
It
that
takes
much
away
left.
some of the curtain.
Okay.
It's no longer like a 3-stage evening. This is kind of like a. It's
Dude.
now way more relaxed. It's way more smooth. This is a relationship that's been down for a while.
It went from the first date kiss to now we've been down for a
now
while.
we're like 4 years in.
And
We're not
3
necessarily
kids, 4
having to
years.
change our underwear yet,
Oh boy!
right?
Oh, jeez. I gotta try it.
Yeah.
Wow,
This is a more than one kind of occasion drink here.
it is. I think I prefer it pre-opening it up because it is more
I do
complex.
too because I want that experience. Like I want the difference.
Yeah, right.
If I wanted something that was smoother, I would just go for something
Yeah.
smoother.
Yeah. But it's a really
Wow.
different. It changes it quite a
Yeah.
It did go towards a Highland.
bit. Yeah, it went straight towards a Highland.
Yeah, it's more of like a Highland that has just a hint of peat.
Right.
I actually
In the
got a hint of
background.
honey out of it too. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
The sweetness
Wow.
comes out a lot more.
There's a whole lot hiding in that bottle.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
went
that
from
is a
sea
very-
salt to the lock right there.
Yeah, it's a very
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe convoluted is the right word.
Yeah.
It's definitely. This is a conversation starter.
It is.
Yeah.
isn't
I
it?
think that just the conversation we're having and all the different levels that it has speaks to the quality of it. Because I mean, obviously we'll talk about it when we get to the grading, but it's not cheap. It's not a $20 bottle.
No, it's not.
No.
And that's something
We should
that-
mention that. I guess I failed to mention that it's comes in at around
$67.
$67. Yeah.
So with something like this, you have to know what you're getting into, and that is this complexity,
Right.
these conversations, whether you're going to feel like you want more of an island or more of a
Mhm.
highland or somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I could see some people spending $70 on a fifth of whiskey and wanting something a little more simple or something.
Mhm.
You're kind of getting on the roller coaster here.
Yeah,
a
you
little
are.
bit, You know what I mean? They might just want like, now me, I like that. So
Right.
I
will say this though too. To continue Mikey's point there, I think this is the most that we've ever talked about a whiskey, as far as the differences in
could
it.
be.
Um,
I think it's probably the most complex in a way.
Are you getting a rye?
Yes, almost. It's there.
I'm getting
I
A
know.
little bit at
I
the
know.
end after
Yeah,
the finish.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's almost like rye water was added or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
It comes out a lot more with the water though.
Yeah.
I
no,
wasn't
that's what
getting it until
since adding the water.
actually
you
at
get
the
a-
end it's very rye.
Yeah.
Rye-like.
Ryu. Hadoken.
Hello, David.
Yeah. Wow.
I know.
Really strong rye.
There-
But there's no rye.
No, none at all.
Yeah. I don't know, honestly. I mean, we've discussed Lagavulin, and is probably still to this day my favorite single malt. Although I have put in, I've spent a lot of time with this guy. It might still, even having said that there are others that I may or may not like better, this probably is the most complex whiskey I think we've had on the show.
Yeah.
So talking about it to that degree is warranted.
And it's only a 10-year.
And it's only a 10-year, right?
Yeah.
Right. Imagine how much smoother like the 25 is.
I think
Yeah.
that's what you lose out of it being a 10-year. You lose a lot of the smoothness
Yeah.
that it would have if it was a 16
Right.
or even a 12.
let's rate this baby.
Start us off, Jay.
Oh, Man of Mystery goes first.
$89.
Whoa! Didn't expect that from you. But
You thought it was gonna go? I didn't think it'd go into the 90s, but
yeah, right.
that's- yeah.
I didn't think he'd go in. I didn't think he'd go into high 80s.
I like it.
That's awesome, dude. Let's toast. And we should also mention to all our Patreon members.
Yes,
and-
let's do that.
Yeah,
We have Patreon member Scott Knoll.
we do.
We have Rick Wirtz.
We do.
We have Ryan Weaver.
We do.
We have Mario Ciccarella. We have Shannon Hoffman. And we have the Cosmic Road.
The Cosmic Road Show.
Nice.
Is it Scotty Knoll?
Yeah.
He's first.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to our
To our
patrons.
Patreon
And seriously,
Our
thank you.
patron members.
Thank you very much, guys.
Mhm.
For real. It is honest to God appreciated.
Al, what do you got, bud?
90. And it is. I want to.
90 with a period?
No.
90,
94.
94.
Yeah. And the only reason I don't put it higher is because I know that I am that limited in
Right.
the world of Scotch. I guess 2 years or 3 years down the road, maybe I'll put it up to a 96 or 97.
I'm gonna put it straight at a 96. I love this whiskey.
Mike,
It's yeah.
I don't want to let Jason down on this one. I'm not saying
Be
I
yourself.
don't like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not saying I don't like it.
right.
I'm not letting anyone else's
No, dude.
numbers influence mine. I'll tell you, I'll give you a little reasoning behind this before I give you my number.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, the complexity, the finish, and all that is not what I expected, and it seems. I don't want to say it seems out of place, but just some of the flavors and some of the notes that I was getting is not what I wanted to
Okay.
get out of this particular whiskey or this particular scotch.
As I said, it could be too much.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't want to say that it was overwhelming, but it was kind of like an identity crisis for me
Okay.
because the notes that I latched onto, I wanted more of,
Right.
and like the floral aspects, the sweet aspects, I didn't want that. I wanted more of.
See, I'm not
this-
getting a whole lot of that. It's really rich. I'm not getting.
Well, now that the water's in there, I lost some of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. and that's why I preferred it with the splash, because it got rid of the floralness and it got rid of the citrus for me. But then again, it kind of finishes more like rye now.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's got an identity crisis that I can't really hop on with, especially for the price point. Because if we're gonna give these other whiskeys higher grades for a lower price point,
Right.
then this one that's almost $70 has to lose some marks for being $70 and having an identity crisis, in my opinion. So that being said, I'm gonna give it an 86.
That's exactly what I thought you were going to give it.
Yeah.
Yes. I was debating, but I didn't want to influence you.
Yeah.
Before you even started.
Well, next time you have to write down and hand everybody their
I was
numbers.
just going to say
Is
86.
this your number?
Is this your card?
Which is kind of interesting because we felt the exact same way, but in a poor way, about Blackened. That had a huge identity crisis with.
Well, see, I
It
mean,
seemed like they just threw flavors in to add flavors, and there was no rhyme or reason to it.
okay, so here's my thoughts on the difference between Blackened and Talisker.
And I'm in no way trying to compare the two as far as that. Like, well, one that was a bourbon, this is a Scotch.
Yeah, and
kind of
these are quality flavors that it's having identity.
Right.
Right. That's the big difference right there. These are quality flavors. But for me, here's the difference in a way to address that too, Jay. Talisker has literally been a distillery since the 1830s. I don't feel it has an identity crisis. This is its identity.
Right.
Right.
It's been making these flavors since 1830. Other Scotches have copied Talisker.
Mhm.
So for me, Blackened, being a new kid on the block, might have more of an identity crisis. You know what I mean?
They're not hanging tough.
No. Who's your favorite new kid, though? I don't know if we've ever actually
The
addressed
straight
that.
one.
Yeah. Which one is that? So,
Just lost our one watcher.
right.
Yeah, this is hands down a Talisker whiskey.
Right,
But at
right.
the same time, it's just
This is pretty, there's a lot there.
there's a lot to it. There's a lot to unlock.
When he brings up something like Blackened, to me, that's the difference. This is,
Mhm. Yeah, that's not a fair comparison.
No, and it wasn't trying to compare. And obviously, not trying to compare apples to apples there, but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, this is right
Yeah.
as far as the difference.
Mike, you hit it
differences.
on the head. It's the
Right.
quality.
But I just thought that was interesting. With our
Blackened
votes,
feels like a shuffled playlist. You know what I mean? Which is
it feels like the Wednesday Night Whiskey Committee playlist.
right. Well,
Yeah, and then every once in a while you get ICP. and you're like,
I don't want it. Whatever. With our tallies, it receives a 91 out of 100. Do we all give it a star?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's 4 out of 4 Wednesday Night Whiskey stars. Yes, we absolutely recommend it. So make sure you, if you are perusing,
what a rye at the end, dude.
I know.
if
Since
are
you said that, it's all I can taste
Yeah.
at the end.
if you are perusing the Scotch aisle in your local store,
I'm excited to finish it so I can
and
get more without the water.
you see this on the shelf, don't hesitate. It is definitely worth the taste.
It's worth checking out. Even if you find out at the end of the day, you're like, I don't think I'm going to get Talisker again. It's something that I would say you
Yeah,
should
and then
check
like
it
we
out.
said, throw an ice cube or throw some water in there, and you're going to get a completely different whiskey.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something that you just don't get out of a lot of whiskeys.
Right.
You change a couple points, a couple notes, but this actually becomes, like I said, more like a Highland. It
Mhm.
really does change its entire. I hate to use the word complexity again, but it changes its
It's character.
its overall character.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty, not many have actually rated that high, have they? I mean, that's pretty good.
No, that's pretty high for us.
Yeah.
Which I have a question that we should, if this could be a motion that can pass.
Emotion.
a
Wow.
motion.
Oh,
Are we going to use
What?
parliamentary procedure here or what?
Maybe.
I don't have my powdered
Can
blue.
we do away with the budget versus premium categorization? Because I feel like we've had some things that end up on the budget list, even though they shouldn't be.
Okay.
And our premium list is like very, very small at this point. So I wonder if we should just take away the the definition of what is premium, what is budget.
I
and
would
then
say
kind of a rating.
let the price point affect the rating, but don't let it affect the category. That's my vote, because as far as premium goes, I don't know that we're ever going to get anything or try anything that's in the $300, $400 price range.
True.
And like premium for us is $100, but for some people, premium.
Speaking of
is,
Patreon members,
so I'm fine with that. I mean, you have my.
I do think it is relevant when we talk about rating it, because that's just, I mean, knowing the price point is something that.
Well,
True,
maybe
an
we can,
everyday sipper versus something like this,
Right.
such as you said you have for each one of your children being born.
Right,
It's
right.
yeah, I do think it's
maybe we can have.
There was a time in my life where this was a lot more of an everyday sipper. I kind of miss those years.
Maybe we can have Mikey actually go through the rating list, and if there's anything that you feel that should be in the premium
Regular.
category,
okay.
that I could move out and bump up then, just to see.
I'll take a look at it. I mean, like I said, I would be fine with just abolishing the categories altogether and just letting the rating affect the.
Yeah, so that's what I would rather do too. But okay, that's fine. Let's move on to discussion topic number 1 here. Al found this article, and
I was
he kind of made
just
mention of
floored,
it, and it was
yeah.
like, wow, this is really kind of cool. So we're definitely
Super cool.
we're going to talk about this.
it's super old. This is something that occurred back in 1967. I guess compared to when Talisker actually started making scotch, this is not
That old.
This isn't that old, but nevertheless, for your everyday article, to find out that the Canadian Club launched something back in 1967. It was called Hide a Case Campaign. That's right. They actually took wooden cases of Canadian Club and hid them across the globe. There was 25 total crates hidden. And they were in locations. Where's the map? Let me read some of these locations. Mount Kilimanjaro, Africa. Angel Falls,
How
Venezuela.
cool is that right away? First thing. We hit some whiskey on Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
Go find it.
Australia. St. Helens Island. Death Valley, California. Hawaii, San Francisco, Washington, D.C. Of all of these cases, the idea was that they actually had promotions. You would find the articles and on TV, or I'm not sure, actually back in the 60s if they had whiskey commercials on TV, but
I don't know.
in print magazines like this one here, it actually comes out and says on January.
They did actually.
Well, no, this is actually from one of the print articles.
I meant from TV.
Oh no, from television. Okay. On January 23rd, 1968. We put a case of Canadian Club whiskey under the Angel Falls in the world's highest waterfall. They actually came out every now and then and threw an article out to people. Here's one that said in September, this advertisement was September 7th, 1969. We hit a case of Canadian Club at the heart of the Yukon Gold Rush. And here's some clues on how you get it. This, I mean, considering
the only uncool thing about the whole thing is that it's Canadian Club.
Well, but it's from 1967.
Right.
But I mean, today, people have the GPSs where they hide items, and you have to go and find them and reload, mark them and items like that. This was done back in '67. They started hiding these cases. Now that at the beginning of the article is pretty cool. Then I find out as you're reading along, this campaign still exists. They don't promote it, but all the cases have not been retrieved. Still missing and known areas are the Yukon Territory in southwest Canada, Loch Ness, Scotland.
Loch Ness.
Hide a case of Canadian
Club in Scotland.
That's pretty ballsy.
That is ballsy.
It really is. New York City. Where's some of the other ones? There's one in Chicago.
That's ballsy.
Yeah.
Just going to Chicago.
No, there's one. The closest one to us is Lake Placid, New York. So
remote.
we got to do a
broadcast?
We got to do a remote broadcast. We're gonna go to Lake Placid and start
Let's just
walking
do it
around.
from the North Pole.
They do have
why
one
mess
still
around?
at the North Pole. They have one still hidden at Bonnie Clyde's hideout, 1934 hideout near Gibson Land, Louisiana. Now these are locations that they already gave the clues to.
Okay.
Canadian Club already gave the clues. There are actually still 3 cases that they never gave clues to yet.
Wow.
So there are still, of these 25 cases, I think there's quite a few still remaining, 9 or 10. But they actually give a couple examples of the people, how they found them. Like this one couple on June 10th, 1968, they were honeymooning.
That's not too long after it was done.
No, it was a year after they started it. They were honeymooning, and they discovered that first case.
Happy honeymoon.
I mean, right? So as far as a whiskey company wanting to really promote themselves in a very unique way,
Yeah, that's bad.
this was really right. This was really taking it to a new limit. Now, it does mention in here that the owners of Canadian Club today, which I lost that page. Here it is. The spokesman of the Beam Suntory Corporation, that is now the manufacturer, owns Canadian Club, said that they are not planning at any time to revive the campaign, but the treasure hunters who are thirsty for some adventure are still welcome to go explore it. So it sounds to me like they know where they're at, but they're not going to go and tell. They're not doing anything else with it. But the cases are still there. Go find them.
So Canadian Club has a book somewhere with the exact location. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
meh.
Got a comment on there.
We got who? We got Shannon. Treasure hunt.
I know.
Well, actually,
Man, let's do it.
yeah.
now whenever I guess previous
And then
to
we'll rate the whiskey when we get it back to the
every
show.
bottle.
Every bottle.
How many bottles are in a case?
Oh, true case should be 12, I think,
12.
because these are the wooden crate cases.
Okay.
These aren't the ones that the cardboard cases you find at the PLCB. Yeah, there should be 12. 12 bottles of 1967 Canadian Club. I think that would be
So
worth
right after we find this, then we go trolling the hills up behind
get
our
Brad.
place.
We get Brad.
We go
and
find the
there.
treasure, and then after that, which we haven't told Mikey yet, we're going to do this.
Oh, that's something to.
Yeah, we're going to try. You want to spend the night in an old haunted jail?
I always want to do that.
Done.
Oh,
So,
okay, we're gonna have to talk to Darcy then. Okay.
we're going to have to make that happen. We're going to do a podcast.
Does it
from
say
the
anything
haunted
about
jail.
hiding
Can
any
we
of
do it
these in
like fear
Evansburg,
style?
Pennsylvania?
No.
If any of the Whisketeers out there have GoPros, we will need 4 GoPros.
Right, right.
And we're going to do like MTV's Fear, where we just have it strapped to our.
And we're
waist
gonna
the
run around
entire-
screaming.
Yeah. And we'll be like, what was that? Did you hear that? And you guys will be like, we're still in the car. What is it though?
I'm telling you, I think
It was a
this,
stop sign.
I'm
It
telling
was
you, I think this could be the blockbuster cinema verite of 2019.
I'm in.
Or it could just be one awesome mess.
And I thought we were going to tell them that we're going to take booze in.
I don't know about that. Well, we'll have to find out. It's
What, do the ghosts care?
well, no, but the county might.
It's abandoned, isn't it?
It is.
Fuck
Ish.
the county.
Well, you don't live in that county. I live in that county. I don't want the. Yeah, you see
I
what
live in
happened?
that county.
See, but you keep on pissing off the township or the supervisors down here, and they keep on raising your rates. And
Anarchy.
yeah,
Oh wait.
we don't do that up there. We just let them do whatever they want. And
Yeah.
they don't tax us anymore.
No, that's pretty cool. I do definitely think we should do that. That
It's something I think. Yeah, I'm going to definitely look into doing. Now, I did, in case I haven't mentioned it. Xbox has the 360 SLS kinetic camera, or the Xbox One kinetic camera, and I purchased one off of eBay, and the software is free. And I actually did set it up, and it monitors. What it's supposed to do is watch people play games, but it was in the theory of if we do get into the prison and we actually can have a lockdown, we're actually going to have one tool that they use, for ghost monitoring, I guess you can say, an SLS kinetic camera.
we need
Nice.
EMF meters. I don't have any.
Do we
I
get
don't know.
proton packs?
Dude,
down.
Oh, yeah, we need to, yeah.
I
Who,
want,
who has a hearse? Who
uh,
we get-
I'll bring my marshmallows. That's all I got.
who has a tauntaun?
Luke.
I need a taunt. Yeah.
Gino's close.
All right, he's pretty
Yeah,
close.
that's-
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. He might be more Wampa than Valentine.
I don't know. I bet if we cut him open, we could fit a couple of us in there.
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No
like it
lukewarm
too.
jokes.
That's cool though. Yeah, definitely. And there's still 9 cases.
That's
At
pretty
least,
cool.
yes.
That is super cool. I mean, the whole funny thing to me about it is, at the end of the day, you've got a case of Canadian Club.
Mm.
You're like,
1967-year-old case.
It doesn't
Maybe we
age
should
well
find-
in the glass.
maybe we should find one and then go hide it at the Evansburg prison, and we'll start our own.
Could you imagine if we found it, brought it back here, did an episode, and we were just like 43?
43.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
What were they thinking? Now I understand where they hit it. No,
Tastes
I have
like
a funny.
Loch Ness.
Yeah, right.
No, right there, that does take some balls though. To take the Canadian whiskey and go hide it over in Scotland.
Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah,
Unfortunately,
that's slapping a gauntlet down.
Yeah.
Yeah, the plane ticket cost more than the whiskey did.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool though. Let's move into discussion number 2 here, which was kind of as we were doing our normal, what are we going to talk about this week? Discussion popped up. Mikey gave us the idea of, well, we should talk about the quality of current video games, and I think we could probably do pretty well on that.
All right, so I'm going to start, and then we can chip in after that, but I have a little bit of a soapbox for a minute.
Love it.
Go for it.
Go.
So, like Jay mentioned, I just finished Spider-Man for the PS4, and my mouth was on the floor basically the entire time I was playing the game, and it wasn't like a week playing it and I was done.
Right,
It's
right.
probably been over a month, almost 2 months. Of
It's
me
been a
playing it.
while.
Month and a half.
Yeah. And that's some serious hours I put into it as well. And it was such a polished game to the point where like the graphics were incredible. Sidebar about that. I teased Jay with it.
Yeah,
so
he
he's
did.
anxious to hear it.
I'm anxious.
So the graphics were incredible. The gameplay was amazing. I mean, everything that you wanted to do, everything you wanted the controller to do, it did for you. So if you felt like if you pressed this button, this would happen, that's exactly what happened.
That's
It was
awesome.
so intuitive. It felt so fluid the entire time you were playing. The characters and the bosses and everything were very fleshed out. Now, it did have some feelings of the Arkham games from Batman, if you've ever played those.
Which is awesome.
Exactly, which isn't a bad thing. If you're going to be
You have to
inspired,
find 300 Riddler trophies.
No, right.
kind of.
Really?
There's a lot of those, but you want to.
Who did they use?
His backpacks. They used
Okay.
his like Peter Parker's backpacks. But it was one of those things where you wanted to do all of that because you're still at the end of the day slinging ropes around or slinging webs around New York City. So it was just it was an amazing experience. The final mission, like the final act, I was going through the entire gambit of emotions. I think like the very last like few scenes, I actually cried. Like,
Fantastic.
yeah, and I was just like, this is amazing. You don't have this experience from video games, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it, because that made me think, like, this is the best game I've played in years. And two things
Wow.
about that. One, it wasn't even in the contention for Game of the Year. It was behind both Red Dead Redemption 2 and God of War. And two, it is sitting currently with an 87 on Metacritic.
Really?
Which is why I kind of wanted to discuss the quality of modern video games. And I will be the first to admit that I, don't have the time. And what's up?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's sitting behind? No, I have not played. I haven't played any video games literally since like last fall. So I'm out on any of these newer games. Do you think that it's sitting behind Red Dead 2 and God of War because it is probably as good as it is? Do you think that it's because those games may actually be better? Or do you think that it's because somehow it's just been overlooked?
I think a little column A and a little column B. Now, I did go on Metacritic and read some of the comments behind some of the actual reviewers and the audience scores.
Okay.
Just to see why it was getting lower grades. Because if I had to give it a rating, I would give it in the mid to high 90s.
Okay.
And someone gave it a 0 because they thought Batman was better. So you can't go in and
So
say,
you're giving it a 0 because you think
Exactly.
Batman's
Yeah.
better.
you can't go in and pull your DC fanboy card just to give a video game a lower
Right.
rating.
Right.
Now, some of like the IGNs and those type reviewers gave it some bad scores because they didn't think the world was as fleshed out as it could have been. But I think again that this is kind of where we're at with modern video games. Whereas back 10, 20 years ago, if your world wasn't fleshed out, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're playing Doom, like you're
right.
really
The world
just,
is not fleshed out.
yeah, you don't have NPCs.
Well, I mean, how fleshed out do you expect from what you've described in this game? There's like a shit ton of stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
Part of my thing, and I'm starting to get to this point in a way almost, is like, dude, if you flesh this world out too much, like, do I have a year to play this video game?
Yeah,
Right.
and
You know what I
think
mean?
That's
Like-
the reason why I haven't gotten into Red Dead Redemption 2 is because I have played games like Fallout 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5 where I stopped playing because they were just it was too big.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I know that I'm not going to have the time. The completionist in me
yeah,
doesn't have the time to go
Right.
through and
right.
do all the side quests and do all the missions that I want to do. So I either have to go in my head, and this is a discussion me and Nathan, listener, friend of the show, had basically saying, like, I need to turn my brain off from being OCD video gamer.
Right.
I need to stop doing
Isn't
all
that
these
almost
side
the point of
missions.
video games in a way?
Yeah, and that's how I like to play. So it's hard for me to tell myself, like, don't do this. If
Right.
that's how I want to play the
See,
game.
I'm like you. I'm 100% completionist,
Yeah.
and like I just sit there, you know.
I used to be,
Yeah.
and the bigger these games get, the more that's dissuading me from playing like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I have started Red Dead 2. And I was actually more surprised at this point still how now, and I'll admit I never played one.
Mm.
I never played
Still one of my
obviously-
all-time greatest games.
obviously Red Dead Revolver isn't, you can't even really talk
Mm.
about that because of the graphic level at that point.
Right. It was
yeah,
actually a good game in its day, though.
right. But comparatively speaking, like I haven't played one.
But the step up between Red Dead Revolver
Oh, huge.
and the first,
Yeah.
It's like Fallout 2 and Fallout 3.
Right.
They're just not the same game. Yeah.
For all the hype that has been built into this game, I'm still waiting for it. No, I'm not very far.
yeah, but horse balls, dude.
Yeah. I'm not very far. I'm only in like maybe like I'm right now just getting into where the teaching mode of the game lets go,
Right.
and you're now this is where you should go, but there's nothing stopping you from going that way.
Right.
I'm just now to that point, and it's still just like it's super slow to me. It's laggy, kind of.
I can see. Oh, you mean actually performance of the game, or do you mean like quest?
Just
speed?
just the way that it feels. Like
Okay.
I'm not saying that it's actually like herky jerky lagging.
Okay.
That's actually the same exact thing that Nathan said.
It
He was
just
talking
seems like
he said it was the exact opposite
I'm
of
hunting.
the exact opposite of Spider-Man, where it was I want to do this, but it doesn't feel that way. Like you'll walk up to someone and there's the same button that you communicate with an NPC or a stranger is to draw your weapon, and if the dialogue doesn't come up to speak to them,
Right.
you just started a confrontation that you didn't
So-
want to start.
And it's because of the way the game speed is. It's hard to pace.
It's not
Do I
necessarily.
hit the button
it's
now?
just controls,
And
Yeah.
that's the same. And we've talked about that many times with my experience with Witcher 3.
yeah.
Which like I was like you said, that was a game that you could do a mission in and turn it off.
Yeah.
And I was okay with starting, which usually I'm not.
Right.
I'm okay with starting another game over top of Witcher.
Yeah.
But Witcher, Red Dead is like, I want to examine this glass. I want to,
Yeah.
glass. You back up and okay, finally I can grab
See,
it.
that's an interesting thing you bring up. You bring up Witcher 3. To me, that game was almost perfect in terms of how expanded and complex the world was, balanced by I have these quests to do, balanced by I don't really want this game to possess my soul and take over my life.
Right.
like I think that game is super well balanced that way. And if you start getting too much more than that, then we're starting to go right off the cliff. You know what I mean?
And that's where I've disagreed with you as far as the mechanics of that game, because if you,
I'm not talking mechanics. I'm just talking
Right.
about the pacing and the
pacing seems okay.
yeah.
But for so far for
Problem as a video gamer. I have tried. Do you guys remember like the first couple coders, like Knights of the Old Republic games?
Mhm.
Okay, so like I don't know what it is, but when I play a video game, I'm just like the world's biggest softie or something. Like I'm always like, well, of course I'm going to give you my star pass so that you can take your child and get off this barren wasteland, and I'll find another. And
right.
of course I'm going to heal the person who has the plague. And you
yeah,
know what I
I
mean?
don't know you, but here's all my glue.
I don't know you. I don't know you, but I mean, and like when put in a game like what my buddy described to me about, Red Dead 2, I don't know, man. I think I would find it hard to operate in that world.
Like the last time that I felt, and I even said this to Al, I pitched this to Al, about Skyrim. I said, Skyrim is the first game that has ever really made me question my morals as a person.
Right.
Especially when it came down to the first, like one of the real first Daedric things you do,
Yeah.
where you get the mace of whatever. And
Molag Ball.
yeah, and in order to get it, you have to pummel the priest or whatever.
Yeah.
And at first I was like,
I know, it's
I don't wanna
tough.
do that.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I
I'm
don't
not
want
going to do that. And then you're like, this is a
Man, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah. And so of course I laid waste, but
Right.
like after that moment, it was like I don't care who I'm wasting at
Right.
this point, kids,
See, what I
troves of villagers, whatever.
What I tended to do with Skyrim was, I'd go in and like I'd save it, and then I'd go waste the whole village, and then like look around and find where everything was at, and then I'd reload my save.
I,
you know?
I did the save, destroy everyone just to get off some aggression, and then go
Right,
back and be like,
right.
okay, yes, you can do that. That's
Yes.
fine. Perfect.
Yes, I will help you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what game you should check out, Jay, is Detroit. Are you familiar with that game? It's a PS4 game. It just came out this year. Another one that blew me away. It's by the same people that did Heavy Rain. Are you familiar with Heavy Rain?
I know of it.
It's basically a movie that you play.
know of that.
No.
It's basically
I
a
know where
movie that you
Detroit
play.
is.
So there is obviously there's some combat and there's some interactiveness to it, but basically what it is it's world building and character building.
Is it? Is the setting like modern or futuristic?
Detroit is futuristic.
Okay.
Heavy Rain is modern, but
Okay.
this is like about androids, and basically it's told in three different stories, three different parts. So you play as a android cop, you play as a renegade android, and then you play as an android who's leading an uprising, and all of these stories intertwine. So as the cop, you can either like side with the android since you are one, or do your job and be a cop. So you're building these three characters basically from the ground up. And so you make all of these decisions, and each and every decision, like after every mission, it gives you a tree of all the decisions you could have made. And then it'll tell you the percentage of everyone that's played the game of like who did this decision and who did this decision. And then by the end, you're like 0.3% is like your decisions. But every decision that you make impacts your character throughout the rest of the game. So that one is like a really cool.
I like those kind of games.
Yeah.
Though.
And I'm totally into, like I've said this many times over the last several years, that I'm to the point now where I would much rather play a game, and I'll say game, air quoting, that is like that, where it's, I don't really care that I play the game at this point. If you could give me a cinematic game where all I have to do is make the choices,
Play Detroit.
I would love,
Okay.
because I don't have the time to invest in
Right.
this 300-hour open world game anymore, as much as I would love to. See, that's why I kind of like where no matter what happens, I'm always going to be an Assassin's Creed baby, because
Which is why you have control problems with Witcher.
because to me that game just moves flawlessly. Well, I don't want to say flawlessly; it does have its faults, but it's just super easy. They really haven't changed the controls a whole lot since
And
game.
they kind of nudge you where you're going.
Right, and I don't even mind so much the fact that like Witcher, or at this point now Red Dead, where it's just like they're not telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they're making it so large that I don't want to. They're killing the completionist in me,
You're killing me, Small.
which is also leads into my second point, which I put in the show notes.
Before you go there, I
Yeah,
want to
show
get
notes?
to my thing that I left you hanging on earlier.
Yeah, dude.
Because this kind of leads to it. So, as you were talking about these Assassin's Creed games and the ones that aren't as open-ended, I did start playing God of War. And when I loaded up God of War, I was on the like the first screen. Obviously, every game has it where you kind of calibrate it.
Yeah.
And there was a setting that said enable HDR, which is high dynamic range, which is like peak graphic quality, and especially in video games.
Right.
And it was off for me. So I clicked over to turn it on because I have this Ultra 4K HD HDR TV.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, I want peak performance. And it was like HDR not enabled on your PlayStation. And I was like, wonder what that means. So I looked up online, and it was like, for Samsung TVs, you have to go and change a setting under game mode to enable HDR on video games. So as good as every game has looked on that TV, it wasn't on HDR. So I turned on God of War, and my mouth was just like, holy shit.
So I have a Samsung TV, but I don't have a 4K TV.
Well, you need to have a PS4 Pro.
See, I don't.
Ah,
See,
I
that's
just
what I
have a
have.
PS4.
I bought a PS4 Pro because I knew I had an Ultra 4K HDR HD TV, and I was like, I want to unlock peak performance. And so, like, as good as Spider-Man looked, even better now. As good as God of War looked, as soon as I turned that on, I was just like, holy shit.
That's awesome.
I mean, you watched me play it out there for a second.
Yeah,
and
for the split, I probably watched maybe 2 or 3 minutes of it. It was just like, this is the coolest game I've seen at this point.
yeah. So, and I can easily see it dethroning Spider-Man as Game of the Year for me, but just for
Really?
me, Spider-Man was awesome. So I
Yeah.
recommend. So to segue into what you were saying,
Yeah,
there is some DLC for Spider-Man that I'm looking forward to. But tell us
See,
how you feel.
All right, kiddies, time to settle in. Bring the microphone just a little bit closer. Let me
get more garbage out of my dog's mouth.
let me whisper this in your ear. I fucking hate DLC content. And it really just stems from the fact of, I don't know where they originally got the first idea for DLC. Well, I'll even go back farther than that. Jason, you have been a man of many.
I've been a man.
Of many.
For most of his life.
Yeah,
For most of
his
my life. Not all.
And even Al, you had a stint in this.
Yes, was a man. Yes.
As a D&D guy.
Mm.
The idea of you can purchase extra content
We went to D&D World, Mikey, so you
But isn't that-
hasn't been that foreign of an idea.
No, that's what D&D was based around.
Right.
Um,
I still got stacks of modules, baby.
so the concept of buying extra things to make your experience better is not a foreign concept by any stretch of the imagination.
But
But
when it
there's
comes-
a big but here.
But when it
Yeah.
comes to video games, I feel that if they should have just taken the extra time and released the game with this content, and if they want to charge more for the game at that point, I'm okay with that.
I think part of it is, though.
Like if you're gonna take for example, Destiny.
Mhm.
When I haven't even played the second one. When the first Destiny game came out, there were 3 or 4 major DLC content downloads, which I'm pretty sure were almost $10 to $15 a pop.
Mhm.
So then you're already at like an additional $40 in content, which would have made the game normally at the time of release a $6 or $100 game. So it's like, would I have been?
Let me throw 3 scenarios at you, and
Sure.
you tell me which of these you're okay with. Okay?
Sure.
And these are all that I have personal experience with.
All right.
So, start with the most recent, Spider-Man. From beginning to end, it was a completed game.
Right.
Like, I never at one point was like, I should pay to get this unlocked. After I finish the game, it's done. They wrap it up with a bow. But there's content that you can download to basically do some stories of characters that you met through the game. Basically, this was happening during, or this happened after. But rather than put out another game or make this Spider-Man 2 part of that content, they're just like, okay, you're familiar with the controls, you're familiar with the story, you're familiar with the plot, but here's a little extra to throw at you that we didn't include. Here's a couple extra bucks. You can play these missions. How do you feel about that content?
It depends on how much they're going to make you pay for it.
It's probably $15 a pop. That just seems to be the going rate for DLC.
No, just include it.
Okay. Well, again, it wouldn't be feasible to include it because you don't change characters throughout the game, really. I
Right.
mean, you do once
So
in a while.
do you want it afterwards? Is what he's saying.
But
It doesn't affect the
then it
gameplay.
should be
Do you want more?
after, if they want you to continue to play the game by purchasing these, then they should. I feel that that should be content unlocked after you have made it through the game.
That's what he just said.
But no, it should just be there.
You're also paying for it.
So this
Right.
is kind of designed for someone like me that they loved the game so much that they want to throw their money at it and
Right.
play a little more of this game that they fell in love with.
What about the fact that, like, so we obviously have multiple installments of different games, right?
Sure.
And there's just some stuff, there's some creative content that may come up after a game or it doesn't quite fit into that game. And you could wait until the second edition, the next installment of the game or whatever. But I think there's also just a creative thing where, hey, wow, when we were making this game, we didn't have this idea.
That's definitely part of it. Now,
And I
said I had 3.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Fallout. Have you played any of the Fallout games? So we'll talk about Fallout New Vegas because listener of the show, Brian.
No, I've owned those games, and when I started to play I got Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas at the same time as Christmas gifts, and I couldn't even make it. As soon as I made it out of the vault in Game 3, I instantly said, "Why am I playing this when Skyrim is still available?"
Well, yeah, sure, I get
Right.
that.
So I didn't like, even though it was the same gaming company, because Bethesda makes.
I mean, if
Fallout
you're picking a
and
lock,
Skyrim.
you're picking a lock. It's exactly the same shit.
Well, I didn't like the way Skyrim moved.
Fallout. Now,
Yeah.
Now, what about
Did you
regardless of if you like the game or not? New Vegas or any of the Fallout
awesome.
games, you could have hundreds of hours in.
Right.
And that's what they banked on when they made it. That's what Obsidian wanted, is for you to have hundreds of hours in that game. So they felt that they gave you a complete package when they gave you that game. But they were aware of the customers that wanted a little more. So they gave you side missions that were completely unrelated to the game. Like Operation Anchorage, which had nothing to do with New Vegas. You went to Alaska. So, and I can't remember if Anchorage was Fallout 3 or New Vegas, but regardless, it's completely different from the location that you're already at.
Mhm.
It's just the game as a content patch. It's basically a completely new location with the same controls, same character, everything you're used to, but this does not fit with the story that they presented you.
Well, I mean, again, it depends on how much they're making me pay for it. Like when they did that with Skyrim,
Right, there was an awful lot of DLC for Skyrim.
when they
once it went to
they did those 3
online,
patches
Yeah,
where they did Hearthfire, Dragonborn, and Taken,
and the other one.
the
Yeah,
vampire,
the vampire
one.
whichever one, whatever it's called.
and actually there's a fourth one. I can't think of what it is right now. There was total continent to the north they added also. I haven't played it in so long you can't remember.
Okay, well, whatever. If they are saying that this is totally different from the game that was added on later, and it's if for that $10 or $15 that you have to spend for the download, that you're then going to put at least, I don't know, we'll say 30 hours or something into something else, but I'm okay with that.
Okay, so that leads to my final one, which is the Far Cry series.
Never played it.
So Far Cry 3 was a game set on an island, tropical island. You play through the entire story. They released a DLC called Far Cry Blood Dragon, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. And Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon basically just turned you into a fucking 80s vomitorium. Like it was straight up RoboCop mixed with like Lethal Weapon mixed with like all these 80s, had nothing to do with the game. So basically, it was DLC, but you just bought a mini game. So how do you feel about that? That is a completely brand new game that you get. That since you have this one purchase, you get a brand new game.
No, for that
Still no.
No.
So where does the content have to be that you're okay with DLC? There's no content that it's going to be okay with you.
I guess it depends on how big it is. Like
It's an entirely new game.
I don't want content that I feel that should have been put in the game in the first place, then presented in this sort of platter. Like, well, we understand that this was bad, and that we did this to compensate and fix for it.
But that's what I'm saying about Blood Dragon. Is it has nothing to do with like if this was bundled in with the Rogue game, people would be like, "What the fuck is this doing here?"
Do you remember back, like, maybe this is like an alternative to the DLC thing. Maybe I'm just too dinosaur. I don't know. But do you remember back, like, after Morrowind was originally released, then there was the Game of the Year edition, in which they added all the shit, Blood Moon and stuff, up in Solstheim. And so
I think that's more what he's interested in, the Game of the Year edition.
Right. So what happened there was a story that did not actually fit with the original content of the game. It was something that was separate. It really wouldn't have fit if you tried to put it in the game.
Right.
Instead of releasing it DLC, now I have to buy the same game over again, but I'm getting an entire. It's like an expansion.
That's what I'm kind of aggravated with, like how when you okay, so
which was badass, by the way.
We're releasing this new game. If you want the plain vanilla version, it's $60. If you want the season pass, which gets you all of the updates when they are released, then that's $80.
Right.
If you want the ultra mega edition, that's $100. If you want that comes with the figurine bust and also 3 extra missions that you wouldn't get otherwise, then it's $120.
Okay. Can I jump in there?
Sure.
There's one thing that hasn't been mentioned. That's how you go about creating the game. You have a room full of people that are trying the game out and finding the bugs. So you got the gamers, but you have the engineers and designers, the people doing the voiceovers, all that. That all has to come together in the game form before it can be released as a game. It has to work.
Look at the big brain.
So I'm sorry. That's what I do is logically, Vulcan, Spock. It's me.
Yeah.
So having something released after a set point, the game is going to be created. Here it comes out on the launch date. Everybody buys it, and all of a sudden, 3 months down the road, they have this DLC. It may not have been created in time to add to the original.
Then why not just wait?
You're paying 100 engineers. You're paying voiceovers. You're paying studios and artists and recording equipment. Where's this money coming from that you're paying them from the futures of what you're going to release? You want to kick it down the road 6 months?
An album, dude.
No,
Imagine this.
That.
Imagine this. Imagine that we're in the recording
studio. It has
studio,
to be done on time.
And we have 10 songs that go together, right?
Right.
Are you going to sit around for months and think like, well, what if we write another song? Like there's just a certain point where you have to
be done. Yes.
Well, then put it on a different game.
Okay, so that was what we said earlier. Yeah.
Like, for example, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag had one major, I think, DLC download, and it was almost like a complete separate mini game.
Right.
Where you got to play as Aldewaldi, and you went to go to a completely different island, and you had to free slaves and do this other. So it was like this whole. It really didn't tie into the main game. I mean, I think